The continual disconnection that I see between men and women is appalling to me. It blows my mind that we're in 2025. People have access to books and information and all these things, yet the understanding from men to women and women to men is wider, that gap, than ever. It still blows my mind. Now, people make the argument nowadays that, oh, we're progressive now and we're different, the world has changed. Yet when you look at it objectively from the outside, when we were more traditional and followed the old values, whether you agree with them or not, society as a whole operated better. There was less drama, relationships were more intact overall. The nuclear family wasn't as broken as it is now. And so many of these things we can look at. And, if someone wants to make the argument that those aren't the measures for a society to be successful or not, well, then, we can have the conversation about it. But the prerogative is to move the bloodline forward, keep society running. We need new people. Birth rates are plummeting. We're having all these issues. Relationships are in shambles. So obviously the direction that we're going is not conducive to a positive future. And I'm sure most people would agree with that. Now, what I want to talk about today a little bit, and maybe I'll skew it more one way, potentially from the woman to the male perspective, meaning what women are misunderstanding about men and getting wrong about men. And you have a lot of back and forth right now in regards to what's going on. And this is the first point that I want to describe to you. One of the biggest issues that I see right now happening in society is people in general, the government, the whatever you want to call it, the agenda, and some women, right? I can't say all. It seems to me as if instead of understanding natural law, what's happening right now is government, or whoever it is, right? The consensus, the average person, is attempting to reshape the dynamic between men and women from an intellectual or social standpoint. And it goes against the very nature of human beings. As an example, right now in mass, men, and a lot of it's coming from women, are being told that they should find certain things attractive in women that we don't care about or that we value much less. Same thing with the standard, right? Oh, you shouldn't hold us to this standard. We shouldn't have to do this. We shouldn't have to do that. Okay, let's talk about the first one. The rearrangement of what we find attractive. You're not going to change that. And even if you're watching this video from the position of you believe that, cool, that's fine, right? You're wrong, but it's okay. However, you're going to have to get it through your head eventually, no matter what you do to fight to say, hey, you should care about this or that. It's not going to change. What opens up the door for a man is your appeal and your look as a woman. If you can't get us through the door with that, nothing else matters. It doesn't matter how intelligent you are, how funny you are, how great you are. Those things are secondary. If you do not spice us up on sight, if we don't view you and have some sort of, like sexual, stimulation, we can call it. Not that we're going to rip off your clothes right there in front of everybody, but you have to be appealing to our eyes where we're like, ooh, right? The moment you have that, now all those other things can come in and we can really begin to understand you and know your personality. Now, I'm going to pause right there for a second because I've had discussions with people and had people say stuff online with what I just said. Again, shaming, oh, that's wrong, and you're viewing women as objects. Look, that's just the nature and how men are. And men will comment in the comment section. We don't care about that other stuff. Initially. If you're not appealing to us visually, we don't care about the rest of it. All you need to do to confirm my example is get around a bunch of guys when one of them meets a girl and they're describing the girl to the guy. If the guy was to describe her personality, we'd be like, bro, shut the fuck up. What does she look like? Like, that's all we're looking for, at least initially. Then if she looks good, all the other stuff is a cherry on top and a bonus. So even that tells you the consensus, generally speaking with men, that's what we're looking at. But nowadays it's, well, I'm highly educated and I got a college degree and all that. Like, women are pushing that to the front and spending the primary energy, time, and focus building that up as if that's going to make them more appealing. And the disconnect that I'm seeing is now they're going out into the world thinking that, well, my looks, and this is the woman now, my looks may be a 4 or 5, but I'm a 10 out of 10 with education and all this other stuff. So now they think they're a 7 or 8, when in reality, again, what gets them through the door is their initial look. And this is why, again, I'm reiterating this so women understand. You can have all those other things and have a great personality and be, heartwarming and pleasant to be around. And believe me, those things, you have to develop them because they're super important, especially if you want to be in the company of a man. I'm describing and discussing my perspective today in the video from relationships, not hookups. If you're just interested in hookups, none of this shit matters, right? Because most men will sleep with anything, so you don't have to worry about it. As long as you look good, that's all that really matters. However, if you want to be in a relationship with a man, if you want to stick around, want them to have you stick around and desire your presence, well, these are some of the things. So when you look at this, I would say, okay, as a woman, again, if you want to appease the man, if you want to get his attention, if you want to keep him around, I would hold that up, that you want to look good around them. When I look at all my exes, they made the effort all the time, and our relationships lasted a long time. My last relationship was almost a decade, and in this era, that's probably like top 1%, right? She made an effort. I didn't force her, but she knew that if she looked good, I'm gonna desire her more and want her around more. And it was a little effort. It's not like she caked on makeup all the time. Not really. Naturally, she was a good-looking girl. But she made the effort, to do her hair and be presentable and visually appealing to me. One argument that I hear now that is weird is women will say, well, I don't put on makeup or want to look better for a man. I do it for myself. It's interesting to me because they know that when they level up how they are visually, they get more attention from men. It's kind of similar to, we don't go out to talk to guys. Well, you're putting yourself in the environment to be hit on and to be objectified. There's a reason that you make yourself look good there in that environment. You may not admit it, but subconsciously, again, you want to be more visually appealing to get the attention. Even if you want the attention from a distance and not necessarily to engage, which I would still argue that that's not the case. They actually want attention because it's all about the right opportunity. You want the right man to approach you and all that. But that's why women will, again, make themselves more visually appealing, and that's fine. But again, you're not going to change that. So that's what gets us in the door, and that's what gets a man's attention initially. And again, it's argued a million ways, this and that. An argument, a social or intellectual argument on that is not going to change it. Will you find the outliers of men who maybe don't want looks to get them through the door? Sure. But again, we have to understand that these generalizations that we're giving apply to most men. All right? Here's the second one. When it comes to communication, I think a lot of women sometimes blur the line without understanding that one of the most important things to us as men that we value, especially again from a woman that we would potentially view in a relationship or that we're in a relationship with, or that we would consider having a relationship with, is the fact that when you speak to us, we know that you respect us. And this is a big one right now because what's being pushed a lot in the culture is the effinism and strong boss, independent and all that. And I'm seeing in a lot of women that uppity, almost masculine type of energy, because when you push independent boss, those are masculine qualities when you champion that at the top. So if a woman is in the workplace and in these environments, she's naturally going to have to be more masculine. However, they forget that when they're dealing with a man, they're a woman. And when you exhibit those qualities, they completely turn us off. And I'll make this clear. We're not intimidated. We're not scared. We're not running away. We're not insecure. It's just a turnoff completely. Again, men, you can chime in the comment section. We find that repulsive. We're not going to be sexually attracted to another man if we're a straight man. But when you embody those qualities, we now picture you as being one of our buddies or a man or somebody that we're in competition with. We don't want that with a woman that we're going to be in a relationship with. And mind you guys, a lot of men will put up with this stuff, especially if you're a good-looking woman, just to sleep with you. Very few men are going to be honest with you and upfront and be like, I don't care if you like it or not. I'm going to tell you this, or I'm not going to deal with you. I'm already at a point, and I have been for a long time, where I won't even deal with that to sleep with a woman. Did I in my early 20s and back in the day? Absolutely. I didn't care. Now I won't. I won't even deal with that. But most men will, because they just want to sleep with you. But we're talking relationship here, right? But there has to be that level of respect, and typically with that boss independent type of attitude, the way that they communicate with us is like a brute, like a caveman. The tone, the way in which they speak to us, it makes us believe that it's disrespectful, because it's almost like there's like this underlying sarcasm, it's condescending, right? They're challenging us, and we don't want that. Again, ladies, if you want a strong, masculine man who's going to lead and be in charge, we don't want that. Why are you going to challenge us? So even if you disagreed with something that I said, or the direction that I wanted to take the relationship or us in a situation, how you go about handling it is very important. If you start pouting and giving attitude and having a hissy fit every time you don't get your way, you're going to run away a masculine man. Again, we're not insecure, we're not intimidated, we just don't want to deal with that shit. It's a pain in the ass. Especially if you're dealing with somebody who's competent, competitive, and gets shit done, like me. I'm not going to deal with that. Now, again, will another dude deal with it to sleep with you? Of course, but we're talking relationships here, not just sex and hookups, because there's a big difference there. What's tied in with this too is the amount of attention that some of you women are getting from men that you misconstrue. You'll have men in your DMs, you'll have men talking to you and talking those sweet lies in your ear. That's to sleep with you. You need to be able to clearly distinguish between a man who is interested in an actual relationship with you versus a man who just will say or do anything to get in between your legs and sleep with you. Big difference there, right? I just wanted to make that point real quick, but we'll harp on it later. But that respect one that I brought up earlier is key. How you address. So instead of pouting and doing all that, bring up that issue and say, hey, I know you want to do X, Y, Z. Can you explain to me why? Or ask a question and for clarification instead of this friction. Because again, fundamentally, when you look at the female versus the male, we process things and we view the world differently. Generally speaking, you're going to see men operate a lot more logically than women. So I understand that emotions are higher for women and things will affect you differently than it does us men. But even if something affects us emotionally, we're still going to go back to the logic. So when you approach and you communicate, because a lot of women don't communicate clearly too. So I'm giving you an example of communicate with the man, or your man in this case, and ask questions and approach it from a logical standpoint. And the man, for the most part, is going to describe, okay, hey, I'm making this decision because in the long run, like as an example. A rule that I always have in my relationships is, hey, you're not gonna do those crazy girls nights, you're not gonna go to the club and all that. And again, my ex-girlfriend initially asked me, well, why not? And then I broke down the whole thing. You could potentially put yourself in danger, right? Your friends can put you in an actionable position. What if something happens, right? How about that place? I don't know if I have to come, right? And I basically painted out a huge picture for the next 5 or 10 minutes. And she's like, oh, wow, okay, I understand now. And from then on, it was never a problem. But she approached it correctly, not, oh, you're trying to control me and pouting and all that stuff. Now, if she didn't agree with that, then we didn't have to be together. But we had a clear communication. Because oftentimes, ladies, you don't realize that whether in this scenario or others, you communicate in hints, you indirectly communicate. Again, more advanced men from a communication standpoint are gonna get it. Like, I get those hints. I've been with enough women. I've been in enough relationships that I get it and I can figure it out. But again, if I figure out early on that a woman primarily communicates that way, I know, like, off top, we're not gonna have anything serious. Because again, when you're dealing with us, long-term relationship, you need to understand that we aren't built the same way as you. That might make sense to you. It drives us nuts. Communicate clearly. Think. My man is more logical. So if we're having a dispute or I need to bring something up, we need to communicate logically. If you're not happy, communicate it. You don't go out and you cheat and you do all this. You communicate it. Then if you guys can't come to a solution, then you break it off. But you don't give hints because what do women do? They pull away. They start being on their phones more. They start wanting to do the girls' nights more, and they start doing, their behavior changes. And they expect that the behavioral change is going to be something that we bring up and notice and then potentially bring up to them. Instead of just communicating directly, hey, I'm not happy with this, or you know what, I find myself not being satisfied with XYZ at the moment, we need to talk about it. That's how you approach it with a man. That's how you approach it. And if you start doing that, man, things will change. Now, I know in mass, only a small percentage of women are actually probably going to listen to me. The other ones will probably bash me in the comment section, but I'm coming to you from the perspective of wanting to build a relationship and genuine connection and attempting to help to understand the mind and the disconnect between the male and the female. And that's the problem. Because sure, I have to generalize in this video, but we have to understand that generalizations do exist. That doesn't mean that every single person falls under that category, but we need to understand if the majority exhibit particular behaviors and patterns, it's true. Just because we have one or two outliers doesn't mean, because that's the problem with society right now, and I want you guys to understand is people are pushing all this, gray area nuance, where it's getting to the point that we can't say or do anything or accept anything as fact. And that's what's ruining this dynamic more and more. Another thing I want to add on to this right as we continue, because I'll probably wrap it up pretty soon. I don't want these videos to be too long. We love differently too between men and women. A lot of women will say, I want a man to pedestalize me. I want a man to, be obsessed with me. No, you don't. Because consciously you may say that, and that might sound good because it's a Disney fairy tale, but your DNA will be screaming to be with somebody else and that the man is weak, and you don't want that. You are more attracted to, on a genetic level, a man who puts their purpose first, that brings you along for the ride. I look at all my relationships and it's been like that. My ex, I completely changed her life. I changed her career path. She worked with me. I taught her a bunch of skills. I built her up. There's no denying that. But that was the foundation of our relationship. And that's why I believe it lasted so long. And I was the leader and I was the one calling the shots and all that stuff. That dynamic, again, generally speaking, works more between a man and a woman. If I obsessed about her and it becomes, then you're exhibiting, that would be a male exhibiting female qualities. Think about like a woman, when you were really attracted to a dude and maybe you really loved him, you admire him, maybe you do stuff for him, right? It's not, we love differently is what I'm saying here. That would be you showing your love, your loyalty, right? You want to hold on to his arm and show him affection. We don't love that way as men. So a lot of times you guys think that because we're not exhibiting the same behavior that you are to you, in your mind, he must not love me or not care. No. I cared a lot about my ex and I loved her, but it wasn't all ooey gooey and mushy with her. She was doing that with me. That's what the woman does. But we have to understand the difference there. Our actions are how we show our love. We're not going to run around every 5 seconds, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, right? Because women will say that, I want, reassurance and that kind of stuff. That's fine. That's what you want as a woman, but you need to understand how a man loves, not how we do. We're not going to, now, again, some men start to compromise their behavior because consciously a woman will say that stuff, and then that's what causes the problem. Because now the man is getting out of character or doing weird behaviors that he doesn't want to do just because the woman in her mind believes that that's the right thing to do. But again, people will take this negatively. You're neglecting her. No, I'm not. We love differently. And you need to understand that. Like a lot of times, and again, men, you sound off if you agree with me. We'll want you in the room as our woman, but we don't want you all over us. Hey, babe, like there'll be moments of that, sure. But we don't want you all up in our space talking to us 24/7, 365. Like, you know what I mean? We don't want that. And I think a lot of women don't understand that, because when they really love a man, they will, want to talk and interact like all the time, but we don't. See, that's again, a separation. So because in that moment, the woman maybe isn't getting the attention from the man that she wants, she'll think, something's wrong. He doesn't love me. When in fact, he's like, dude, you're in the room with me. We're good. Chill. We'll have our moments. So the more we break this thing down and the more that we open this discussion and really talk about it, I think the better that this is going to get. But we need to understand that we love differently. And I think this is a big problem right now because each sex is exhibiting qualities and taking actions that the other one misconstrues or doesn't understand. And then they're saying that because they take that action, something is wrong when really there isn't.